Hello everybody. Welcome to the next part in our eBay class, particularly the Sell Your Item section of the course. So we looked at already things like description, and the very last thing we did was talk about payment, how we like to be paid. This next section is on shipping, and this is a section you may want to bookmark or play again a few times. It generates a lot of questions, I find. So before I even start talking about the form, I do want to give you some ideas of things to think about now. At this point, you really should have put some thought into exactly how you're going to package your item. And this is really item specific. So I'll give a couple of examples of ways you might want to do something, and from there you can kind of figure out on your own. So our first example that I'm going to use is going to be a small eyeshadow palette from Chanel, and we'll say it sold for $70. Now this item is small enough that it can fit easily into a USPS priority mail small flat rate box. And because this item is expensive, that's actually exactly what we're going to do. So we'll go here. We're going to use a flat, same cost to all buyers, priority mail, small flat rate box, and we're going to do free shipping. And we've decided that this is a free box for us, a very quick and easy way of handling this. We don't really want to get involved in packaging types and weights and all the rest of it. We want to keep it simple. This is a good way for us to keep it simple. Now let's say our product was maybe a little bit less expensive, so we don't want to do free shipping, but it's still a tiny item overall. We can use a certain cost for this, and we'll say now a small flat rate box is generally somewhere in the $5 range. We'll say $6.50 because we want to account for things like tape, things like the portion of the final value fee that's calculated based off of shipping. This is important. You have to remember to calculate that in here so that you aren't really losing money. Or maybe your item's a little bit bigger and it can easily fit into a medium flat rate box. And we can adjust our price from there. $7.50, say. Or actually the priority mail medium flat rate box is more like 11, so we'll say maybe $13.50. But what if we want to get a little bit more advanced? Well, we can do that. Instead of using flat, same cost to all buyers, we can actually use an option called calculated, where the cost varies by the buyer's location. Now, generally, you will want to have a cheap option. I use first class package. First class package is good for items that weigh up to 13 ounces. You can offer an additional service. I recommend a priority mail option, and I leave it open, just open priority. And then you may even want to have a one-day service like express. So that's all you need to do to add those. In any scenario, you do need to add handling time. It can be anywhere from 1 to 3 business days, whatever is most convenient for you. You don't really want to do any of these others because it will show up on your item listing, in big yellow print, and people don't really think that's reasonable. 1 to 3 business days is reasonable. If you're using a calculated method, you will need to enter the packaging type you're going to be using. So it's important to have established this in advance. With first class package, this is great for me when I sell like a hand soap, for example. I happen to know that a hand soap put in a thick envelope, which is basically 9 by 11 by 2. I know what those dimensions are, and I also happen to know that the item weighs 11 ounces. So I'm going to put that in. And I know these things because I've purchased the envelopes, which are 9 by 11, and I know with the item in the envelope it adds about 2 inches in thickness to it. I know the weight because I put my item on a scale and weighed it when it was in the packaging. This enables the system to figure out what the cost is going to be on an individual basis for our customers. The nice thing about the eBay system, and one thing that they don't really tell you, is that it tends to put in a little bit of a buffer into the weight calculation. So if something actually costs $2 to ship, eBay may calculate it as like $2.25 or $2.50 or whatever. We do, however, want to look at one of our add or remove options here. And the one that we're going to click on is Show Handling Cost Options. And especially when you're doing weight-based, this is important. Because remember, we need to look at our final value fees and take those into account as well. So we can actually do that, and you'll notice handling cost shows up right here under handling time. So we can click change. And I generally recommend 50 or 75 cents. That's enough to do it, I think. Maybe a little bit more if you've got something that weighs in the $10 range. Otherwise, try to keep it 50 to 75. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, how does the system know what to calculate? Remember, the system knows where you live, and this thing here, item location, tells the system where you're going to be shipping the item from. The system also will know where your buyers live, what their zip codes are. So it will calculate the shipping based on your selling zip code, where it's going, the type of package that you're using, if that has an impact on the price, and the weight. Weight is going to be primarily the biggest thing that determines price when doing things this way. And that is very simply how to do weight-based shipping. Now, there are two other options, and these appear or disappear depending on the category. You could go freight shipping if it's a large item over 150 pounds, or no shipping, local pickup only if you wanted to. These aren't things that you'll really run across very often, so I don't really recommend wasting too much time on them now. If you do have a specific question about those two things, definitely bring it to the live office hours that I hold on a frequent basis, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. If you had something really big and bulky, like an antique sewing machine, that's an example I've run across with my students, then you may want to put local pickup. Otherwise, don't really worry about it. So that is our section on shipping and how to program in our shipping and how we're going to deal with it. And I will see you back here for our next section.